Episodes number 48 through 56 are encore presentations of some of the earlier shows. Here's why. Those early shows were full of foundational information, and I want to make sure you get a chance to hear them again. We're building a new life here, and the new foundation matters. If your reaction is to skip these encores, listen to this first. When you learn something new, 50% of it is gone from your awareness within an hour. That jumps to a loss of 70% within 24 hours and 90% is lost within the week. Add to that during the course of listening to something, your mind wanders a bunch of times. You hear something and your mind takes you on a little rabbit trail until you find yourself coming back to the show. All good. We all do it. Based on that, I'm willing to bet the next few episodes, though repeats, are going to feel brand spanking new to you. And isn't that awesome? Number 57 will be back to original content. So enjoy the shows. Okay, so this is the Unleash Your Life podcast, where you're going to learn to rewild yourself. I'm your host, Lane Smith Brown, and I'm a best-selling author and rewilding guide. And over the last 20 years, I've been guiding women back to their truest selves. You see, you were born wild with all the wisdom you will ever need to navigate your life in a beautiful and powerful way. Then, just like everyone else on the planet, you got tamed as you fell under the power and influence of others who were also tamed. All that taming you got as a kid has you convinced you are less powerful than you really are. I call all of that unconscious programming power leaks. And on this show, you're going to discover yours, and then you're going to choose to plug them so you can get back to the wild, wise, and powerful being that you are. So grab a coffee, glass of wine, or a favorite friend, or all three, and let's talk about what living your wild self can mean for you. Hello, all you beautiful beings, and welcome to the show. I'm Lane Smith Brown, and this is episode number 17 of the Unleash Your Life podcast. And today we're going to talk about how you are bringing beauty into the world and may not even know it. There are clues everywhere as to what your purpose, passion, and intention is. And if that's a bit of a conundrum for you, I hope this will help. Beauty so often gets distorted as just a value of external conditions or characteristics. But beauty is also an internal quality that shines when we are being true to ourselves. You are unique in how you bring beauty into the world. There are countless ways you can be lit up by your surroundings, and an equally substantial number of ways you can contribute that beauty to the world around you. Beauty can be found and expressed in many ways. I have a friend who finds inspiration at the negotiation table as she navigates the line between what may feel like opposing sides, but is often simply a difference in how a similar desire or point is being expressed. Another friend is in her element, advocating for individuals on the peripheral of mainstream society. She helps her clients find their voice, and it lights her up. Another friend is fulfilled when she creates amazing places for animals no one else seems to value. Others find their zone in the boardroom, in a kayak on the lake, cleaning or organizing their space, visiting a friend, encouraging a workmate, loving their children, making something from scratch, creating an Excel spreadsheet that spits out all kinds of helpful data. I could go on, but I suspect you're understanding what I'm saying, yes? You can live your life beautifully by taking the time to realize what you naturally love to do and doing it. What makes your heart race with excitement? What gets your curiosity up? What gives you a sense of peace or satisfaction? What makes you feel good all over? How do you bring beauty into the world? Do you do it by recognizing your own value, or by dreaming about where you're going and what you want to experience in this lifetime? Do you do it by giving yourself a break now and again and asking yourself, what would make me feel good right now? And then following through with it? Bubble bath or a night of dancing your heart out? Either of those appeal? How about you think of one? I trust these don't feel like self-indulgent questions to you, because they're not. Each of us brings tremendous beauty into the world, and when we recognize who we truly are, that beauty begins to expand, grow, and permeate into every area of our life. Then it does this magical, mystical thing. It actually inspires others to do the same. And with that, the world just gets more beautiful. Let me give you a small example of how the beauty of a simple action can affect someone profoundly for years to come. I was maybe 20 years old and out for dinner with my sister. We were in a pretty average restaurant when we noticed a server setting a nearby table. He took the time to inspect every piece of silverware, placing each piece down in a fashion that could only be described as prayer. It was a simple job, and I doubt he was making more than minimum wage, but he performed his duties with pride and attention. It's now 35 years later, and I still remember the beauty of his movement and the reverence he gave to setting places for people who may never get a chance to know him or his dreams. But this server remains an example to me of how we can bring beauty into the world in the most elementary of ways. How do you bring beauty into the world? What inspires you? What could you do for hours? What are simple ways to enhance someone else's experience and, by extension, your own? What experiences could you have every day and never grow tired of? Where do you feel particularly in sync with yourself, where time quite literally disappears? And how would you finish this sentence? Right here, right now. I make the world more beautiful when I. Come on, get your juices going. I make the world more beautiful when I. Fill it in. If it's difficult to come up with something, then train yourself to be more aware of what situations, places, and people light you up. No excuses now. Keep a pen and paper handy and start writing. Do you believe you came here with a purpose? If you do, then you can come up with a list. Truth is, we all bring beauty into this world. If you're uncomfortable with that idea, then you've got some work to do. This list building is not an option. You can do it. Come up with the details and write them down. You may not remember everything in one sitting, and that's okay. Just keep a running list. Look, I carve beautiful, sweeping, curvy pathways with my lawnmower all over our property. So there are these wonderful clean lines amongst all the longer grasses. Now, they are visually pleasing, and they bring in us an excuse to walk our land. That brings beauty. I make a mean curry, and we've had countless people come and enjoy a feast at our table, along with memorable conversations and good wine. These things bring beauty. When we used to live in the country, Callie made sure the barn was always clean for the horses, and they all got a good rub down nearly every night. That brought beauty. Callie has only one horse at the moment, and we have her boarded just up the road, and Callie goes there every day and picks up sticks and fills holes in the pasture to make the place more beautiful and safer for her beloved Cricket. That brings beauty. We're living in the midst of a renovation right now, which was never the plan. But that story will have to be saved for another day. It is what it is. And I am doing my work around being in this unfinished space and understanding what it really is that makes a house a home. And even though the drywall isn't completed, the floor is only good one-side plywood, and the kitchen isn't nearly completed, a good friend needed to crash the other night and said, "There is just such good energy in here. It's filled with so much love." And my heart skipped a beat. It may not be a finished home, but it is filled with love and light that we can share. And that brings beauty into the world. Things may not be exactly as we wish them to be in our lives right now. We may not feel like we're in exactly the right place, doing exactly the right thing. But we are where we are, and we can bring beauty there if we choose to. Our work is to recognize what lights us up, what brings us joy, what comes naturally. Sometimes we recognize it because others recognize it in us. Like they sleep particularly well in our home, or they leave our table full and satisfied. Perhaps a word or a nod from us makes someone feel seen or heard. An old dog is saved from the local SPCA, or a kitten that was free to a good home in the local paper is now safely purring at the end of your bed. All of that brings beauty into the world. The other day we went to grab a cup of coffee at a local drive-thru, and we got to the window to pay, only to find out that our drinks had been covered by a person further up the line. They brought beauty into our lives and the world for less than $10. I'm serious now. Start making the list. This will help you discover what you came to do. It's an extension of what already makes you happy. It's in the nudges you get, to do a thing. Just a little nudge. Something that you may have been overriding until now. The next time you feel it, just do it. We need more and more of us bringing beauty into the world by listening to our nudges. This is such a great way to open ourselves up to the bigger picture, because the bigger picture is made up of all these seemingly tiny and unrelated things. So look into the eyes of the cashier the next time you're in the checkout line. Put a coin in an expired meter. Open a door. Notice someone who looks lonely and offer a kind word. And expand upon those ideas whenever you can. Do you work with love? Clean the house or do the dishes with love? Kiss your mate or your kids with love? Do you look at your reflection in the mirror with love? Everything we do can be done as a chore or as a prayer. Which way do you think has the most joy? Which way do you think stands the most chance of making our world a better place? All of this means you get to stand more substantially in your own authentic power. These actions turn up the volume of your intuition and offer you such an insight into your purpose, power, and intention. This is no small matter, sisters. Unleashing your beauty into the world every chance you get is what you're here to do. So grab your pen and paper and start writing. Remember the questions from earlier. How do you bring beauty into the world? What inspires you? What could you do for hours? What are simple things you can do to enhance someone else's experience and by extension, your own? What experiences could you have every day and never grow tired of? Where do you feel particularly in sync with yourself? Where time quite literally disappears? And how would you finish this sentence? Right here, right now. I make the world more beautiful when I. Come on, get your juices going. I make the world more beautiful when I. This was a quick one this week, but I think that's a great place to end our time together. I hope you've already got your pen and paper in your hand and you've got a list well on its way. You're beautiful, and you're making the world a better place just by being here. Celebrate yourself every freaking chance you get. All right? I'm going to see you here next week, and be sure to check out the show notes for more resources. See you next time. Well, I hope this show rocked your world a little bit. If you want additional resources, check out the links in the show notes or at lanesmithbrown.com. Before you go, please subscribe to this podcast. It's how we get these tools into the world, and this world needs more wild women standing in their authentic power. Do that for me, will ya? Thank you.